Hey everybody, and welcome to Meals with Melissa, where I give you healthy alternatives to the things that you love to eat. So today, of course, if you looked at my post from last night, sometimes when we're trying to live a healthier lifestyle, we miss certain things like candy bars. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm a chocolate fiend. If I had to give up chocolate for the rest of my life, we might have a problem. So today we're gonna give you a healthy alternative to Almond Joy bar. This is definitely, it's super simple. It takes a minute, but there's really very few ingredients involved. You just have to freeze them in between. So what we're gonna do today, again, I'm gonna make a half batch. Made a half batch last night, so I have something to show you, and made kind of an observation about the best way to layer this, to be honest. So got myself a chocolate mold just down at the local craft store. Now these ones are fairly shallow. You might want to get a little bit thicker one, but actually it worked out just fine for what I'm trying to do. I'm just going to reverse the layers today just because it was a little difficult to get the coconut to stick to the chocolate. So what we're going to start with today is the coconut layer. So I've got my little mini food processor. I did buy myself a big one for my birthday, which is awesome. But we're going to start with my little mini food processor, and I'm going to take not quite 2 cups of shredded coconut. Now I figured out last night I didn't quite need as much as it called for when I halved the batch. So I'm going to start with what I've got here, which is actually more closer to probably a cup, and I'm making a mess, but that's okay because I cleaned up after myself. And to that, I'm going to actually add approximately a 1/4 cup of melted coconut oil. Now I've already got some melted in advance here. You actually want the mixture to be a little bit runny, almost like a liquid. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw that in and process now I got smaller flakes. You can get flakes that are even like tiny flakes, or you can get giant flakes. I don't really care up to you. You're gonna throw it in the food processor to chop it up a little bit anyway, but you definitely want unsweetened, okay? Because again, we're trying to make these sugar-free and low carb. So we're just going to make sure that I've plugged it in, which would be a problem. Make sure I've plugged it in. Almost totally ready for this, but hey. Okay, sorry. A little bit of technical difficulties there. So I'm gonna mix this up. Once I get it on, there we go. And I'm just using the pureed option for that, just to make those fairly small. Now I'm going to start drizzling this in so that it can start to mix. Now you don't want to run this 100% for a long period of time because you don't want to overheat your food processor, but you do need to get a good mixture. I also am going to grab a rubber spatula because that will help me scrape down the sides and make sure that it all gets mixed really well. Okay. Now there's nothing that you need to do to prepare the little mold that you have. Just make sure that it's clean and dry. And if you just purchased it, make sure you wash it with just some dish soap really quick and get a good rinse, and then dry it out. Make sure there's no water on it. You don't want water to be part of that mold. All right, so I'm gonna mix this up. And like I said, it's gonna get a little bit thick, so I might need to add some more chocolate in my double boiler. So let me make sure that this is ready to go, and then we're gonna actually put it in our mold and then throw it in the freezer for about 10 minutes, or at least while we're making our chocolate mix. So, making sure that gets a really good mix. Not too shabby. Let's go one more round with that. Just a little bit more. Like I said, I want it to be able to smush down really well into my mold. So, and I will show you what these look like when they're done. Straight down the side one more time. They turn out super great and they're really tasty. Now, I use erythritol at this point. I've had some experiences with sugar alcohols. They do say that they can cause some gut dysbiosis. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't like the fact that it causes me some pretty intense bloating if I use erythritol or some of the sugar alcohols. So I tend to stick with liquid stevia, and that is what we're using today. I'm gonna throw just a little bit of that in with my coconut. Now, if you look around, you can actually find coconut flavored liquid stevia. You can find it on Amazon. I know our local Yolks carries multiple flavors, so you can find it there as well. I'm just using regular just because that's what I have on hand. For my coffee, I tend to like the caramel flavor. So, one more time. All right. Now, I'm gonna take that mixture and I'm gonna go ahead and spoon it into my mold, into just the little individual molds, and pat it down as flat as possible. It says to fill it to about a third full, but that's gonna be, like I said, I bought really shallow molds this time. Honestly, I couldn't find what I was looking for, and so I kind of had to settle for what I could find. So we're gonna push that down. We'll just make a couple of these and throw it in the freezer so you can kind of see what the process is, and I'll finish them later because they're great. You can actually throw them in an airtight container when you're done and put them in the fridge, right? You don't want to leave them at room temperature or the coconut oil will melt. So let's put that in there, get a couple of those. And like I said, I'll finish these when I'm done because I know the family will eat them if I don't, which I have a goal. I'm behaving myself right now. But I did taste them. They are super, super yummy. Okay, so I just got 2 of them full there. I have 2 complete whole sections I could do, but I'm gonna throw this in the freezer for just while we're making the chocolate, and I've got that going on the double boiler. Okay, so I have this really great tool that I haven't figured out called a Pivo that allows my camera to move with me. I just haven't quite figured out how to use it, so I apologize about that. But we're gonna go over here to the double boiler, but I'll kind of show you what I'm doing right here. Now, I know I'm using a glass bowl as part of my double boiler, and I apologize. I know that metal works better for that, but I just don't have that right now, and honestly, this works just fine. I know, I practiced with it. So I'm gonna take 3/4 cup of Lily's dark chocolate chips. Now, discovered these a while ago. They are no sugar added. Now, that doesn't mean that they're completely sugar-free. There's a little tiny bit per serving, and it doesn't mean they're carb-free, so keep that in mind. But they use stevia to sweeten them, and I appreciate that because to me that's a much, much better option than sucralose, which is Splenda, which a lot of products these days contain, but unfortunately sucralose is not what you would say. It says it's non-nutritive, which is not 100% true. They follow a loophole, under 0.5 grams per serving. They don't have to include it. Unfortunately, it has been shown through research to spike blood sugar. So although it was a great idea for diabetics and for people who are trying to be really low sugar and low carb, it's unfortunate it doesn't quite work that way. So I choose to use something that's a little nicer than that. These work great. They are spendy, but you know what? I don't eat out all the time. I don't spend my money on crappy foods. Donut maybe once in a while because I love donuts, but this works great for me. So I'm going to take 3/4 cup and put it in my cute little makeshift double boiler. Now I already heated up my bowl, so I had to turn it off for a minute so it wouldn't boil over. To that, I'm going to add a tablespoon of my already melted coconut oil. It would help if I get the right burner on. Have it. All right. Add that to my chocolate chips. Now that's gonna take a minute. They're gonna melt down, and you just have to just kind of keep stirring. I'm just gonna use my rubber spatula because that'll make sure that it gets nice and scrape the sides of the bowl. So it'll just take a minute to do that. Once I've done that, I'm gonna pull out my molds and I'm gonna add the chocolate to my coconut layer that I've already done. Now, you have a couple of options here. I'm actually gonna add to my chocolate 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt. I actually like that kind of salted flavor. It makes it not quite so sweet. The older I get, the more I like the darker chocolate. I don't like overly rich. I appreciate my desserts when they're much more balanced than when I was a kid and, feed me a Butterfinger, which is kind of funny because I don't even like Butterfinger at this point. So that's gonna take a minute. It's already melting. Okay. Like I said, so to that I'm going to add 1/4 teaspoon of my sea salt, which is predominantly what we use around here at my house. I'm just gonna make sure it's mixed really, really good because you don't really want to get a mouthful of just salt. All right, get that in there. So as it melts, I'm just gonna keep stirring that. I'm gonna check on my coconut layer just really quick and see how it's looking. Oh yeah, it's ready. As soon as we're ready for it, I'm gonna pull it out and we'll get that done. It's actually quite a bit. Even a half batch is gonna make you quite a bit. I find for me, I have to make very, very small batches because otherwise I will eat them all. So even though it's a healthier option, that doesn't mean that you should eat all of it because it's kind of like buying Oreo Thins because they're thinner, so they're better for you, but then eating the entire bag instead of 3 or 4. Doesn't necessarily make it healthier or make it a great option. Plus, it's really easy sometimes to undo everything we've really accomplished during the week by kind of having this, well, it's good for me, I'm gonna eat whatever I want. Yeah, be careful with that. So, all right, we're gonna get this all mixed up just a little bit. Oh yeah. Really close. Promise, we're almost done. These really don't take very long. It's just a couple of steps. That's looking super pretty. All right, see, it's nice and liquidy at this point. Okay, and of course I'm using a heat-resistant rubber spatula, just a small one. But I'm going to, got a spoon ready to go, at least I did. Oh, it's in my coconut. So that all I have to do is put it over top of that, kind of settle it down and throw it back in the freezer. And again, I'll show you what that's gonna look like in just a second. Let me grab another spoon. Now, if you don't like coconut, you could use peanut butter. I mean, there's other options, you guys. It doesn't have to be, your goal is just to give yourself a healthier alternative to something that you love. So when you're having one of those days where you're just craving chocolate now, of course, craving usually means that you're missing a certain nutrient. Chocolate usually means you need magnesium, so you might find another way to get that. But why make yourself miserable? Keep some of these in your fridge or your freezer, and when your freezer is a great option because then you can't eat it all in one bite. You have to actually nibble it, which isn't a bad option. All right, so I think we're about there. Perfect. Turn this off because I don't need it to stay hot anymore. Get my mold. See, those are nice and hard right there. So I'm just gonna cover it with the chocolate. So just spooning that on, making sure I get a nice even layer covering the coconut. So the problem I had last night when I made these, the opposite way I did the chocolate first, was that when I was trying to push them out of the molds, the coconut wasn't sticking to the chocolate. And so I wanted to make sure that I get both pieces. I mean, you can put them back together, but why not make them pretty right from the start? Okay, so I'm gonna cover those. I'm gonna throw that back in my freezer, and this is what they're gonna look like when they're done. Now, again, I made these chocolate side down first, so you can see the really pretty pattern that was in my molds, but they're super yummy. The other thing you gotta make sure that you do, I almost forgot the almonds. So I'm going to do about, let's see, it looks like I've got, well, I actually just last night just put them on there so that I had a little bit of coverage. Now you could use full almonds. I'm actually using slivers just because that way, I don't know, I just didn't feel like crunching into a full almond. I mean, you can, that's what Almond Joy are, but I'm just putting a little bit in there so I get a little bit of coverage and get some crunch in every bite. So again, this is what they're gonna look like. You've got the layer of coconut on the bottom. You've got the chocolate with the almonds and a little bit of sea salt. Super, super simple. Just get some coconut oil. We get ours at Costco locally, the Kirkland brand. As long as it's unrefined, that's what you're looking for. So try it. If you guys try my recipes and you love something, let me know. There's some really, really great dessert ones because I have a sweet tooth. So I tend to go towards that just to make sure that I have some options so that I'm not going completely crazy when I have those cravings. So if you try them, let me know what you think. And if you have a recipe that's simple and you'd love to share it with everybody, let me know. We'll pop it up on there and we'll give you some credit for that. So have an incredible weekend, you guys. And until next time, that is Meals with Melissa. Have a great day.